Hey Joe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Hello? Yeah. So, hi, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. So thanks for accepting this invitation and uh coming here.
Dude, it's a pleasure. I've really enjoyed your videos over the last year. I really have.
Oh, thanks a lot. It means a lot coming from you. I mean, like you're like one of the veterans for Detective Conan on YouTube or even on social media right now.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. It really has.
Yeah,
Been a lot of
like
stuff that's happened.
yeah, like even from the starting, like when we had the Save Case Closed movement, like when it started, when Detective Conan finished, I mean, Save Case Closed ended, and then you started the YouTube and Facebook page like in 2011, I guess, right?
Yeah, we were just kind of messing around and wanting to talk about the series, me and a couple of friends, and it turned into a podcast. And really, what we did the first year was focused on a lot of partnerships. That was kind of our big thing. We really wanted people to not really like necessarily advertise us, but advertise the series. So there was an online streaming network, and it had a bunch of fans, and it was called All Kids Out of the Pool, and they were dedicated to playing classic Adult Swim. And we had convinced them to carry Case Closed into their lineup because Case Closed was part of that kind of old school Adult Swim experience, as well as like Lupin and Inuyasha and some of those other animes. So we partnered with them first, then did a little mini commercial with them, and it just went, it aired like over and over and over again. The commercial did. So that was like our big break for us that got a lot of people like, oh, well, who are these people? And it kind of got attention for us. But we really focused on the business side in the beginning. Within the first three episodes, I remember there was an event out here um, called Funimation at the movies, and it would be like some kind of higher ups at Funimation, like people from the marketing department and stuff, would go out there. And so I went out there to one of the screenings they were doing. I think it was for like Dragon Ball Kai or something back then. And I was speaking to them about it, and they said, we love the series. They said, we're not really looking to do any more seasons. They said now the movies have done very, very well on their own. They
Wow.
said, but that is a different license, so that doesn't cost as much to produce on that side. So we are considering picking up more movies. And at the time, movies 3 through 6 had just came out about a year before,
Yeah.
all in that cluster. I don't know if you remember back then in 2010, they movies 3 through 6 came out within about 3 or 4 months of each other. So they had put those out pretty quickly at the time. And I said, well, that would be really cool. I said, what would entice you to maybe get more of a series? They said, well, at this point, if a company like Fox or ABC had a reality show based on it, or there was some big time live action film coming out that was big, then we would kind of consider it then. But otherwise, we're going to kind of shelve it at this point. But they hadn't even released it digitally yet, so I think a lot of it, what it boils down to, Joe, and I've had a lot of time to sit and think about it, because I kept thinking, why do they keep renewing a
Yeah.
series that they're not going to continue to do episodes for? And what I think happened was the initial license cost so much money. Renewing it, probably when they renewed the license, it was at a cheaper rate each time that they renewed it, and they thought, well, we can make some money back on our investment that we didn't make the first time around. And that's kind of the
Yeah.
conclusion I've come to all these years later. I'm just thinking about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, if they held to it a bit longer, they would have actually streaming would have actually picked up after that, right?
I agree. I think, but streaming even here in the states for Detective Conan's been kind of weird because Crunchyroll picking it up, doing what they've done, they've been the biggest. I mean, they've been the biggest godsend for us. I think here in the U.S. that
Yeah.
as far as picking it up and doing the subs. Now they've had some licensing problems. As of late, they did lose 50
Oh,
some odd episodes. They lost from 754 to 805,
Yikes.
You know, I don't know if that's a license thing or they decided, well, we don't want to carry that much. And then for a brief period, right before Funimation lost the license, they actually carried the first 123 or 130 episodes of the series. They had just put it on Crunchyroll. So it looked like, well, now
Oh,
they're starting to kind of fill in these gaps a little. And then when Funimation lost the license, Crunchyroll lost the license. So there's a whole lot of stuff that's been going on with it. Luckily, you know, Crunchyroll still does the simulcast, but as far as popularity, it hasn't been as popular on there.
yeah,
And some of that's due to the manga being shelved and then unshelved, and then new episodes coming out, and then we don't have new episodes come out for right now. It's been the last
yeah,
new episode that came out was March 28th. Well, it's May 7th, so people need something to
yeah,
watch. People need content. So, you know, if it had a normal schedule where it didn't stop in certain places, or even if they just decided, hey, we're going to air the remastered episodes that they're airing, you know, in place of what would be new content, I even think that would be good. But we haven't
yeah,
seen that yet. So.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons that the movie is doing really well, right? Currently, the BangZoom Entertainment, they've done two movies till now.
Yeah, they've done 21, 22. Obviously, 22 premiered at Anime Expo last year, and then Chara Expo in December got the Crimson Love Letter,
Yeah,
which is movie 21, and then, of course, the episode 1 special that's coming out July 28th. I heard on Reddit yesterday that I've heard a rumor. You know, I don't confirm anything on rumors. I always report on what I hear first that's reported from the companies. But rumor wise, I've also heard that they might be doing the 20th movie, The Darkest Nightmare, as well.
wow.
You know, once again, though, it's one of those things where, you know, it's not confirmed, so I wouldn't
Yeah,
report it. And I mean, there's
yeah,
a
plus, yeah,
there's oh there's and I'm just saying there's just certain things that, you know, I hear and I know, and there's certain things that I can and can't say on certain things, kind of like how voice actors are with NDAs,
yeah,
that I know, but it's not like it's never concrete information until the studio puts things out there. So,
yeah,
um,
that's true.
you know, that's always a big deal. But I think Conan's got a really bright future if everybody approaches it differently. And I want to point this out as well, Joe, that you know, it might not cost as much this time around because TMS is more involved in the production of it, and BangZoom
Yeah,
is handling the recording, and then another company is handling the distribution. And this company that's doing distribution in Discotheque, they've just announced they're not doing any more DVD releases. So you know where they're going with it. They're doing Blu-ray releases. It looks like they're
yeah,
doing movies and specials right now, but who knows?
yeah. I mean, this is like the best case scenario right now, right? Getting Detective Conan movies, the first special, it's gonna build a new fan base of Detective Conan, right? With uh, BangZoom and TMS behind this, I don't see this going anywhere other than up, right?
You know, there's no reason to assume otherwise, and I think people, you know, thanks to, you know, people like you and people like me who've been, you know, hammering people for years, hey, you gotta buy this stuff, you gotta buy it, you gotta buy it. You can't, you can't just watch it, stream it all the
Yeah,
time and expect that that's going to work unless it's readily available through something like Netflix or Crunchyroll. You know, I have a Crunchyroll subscription, but I'd be honest, that's the only show I watch on there. I give Crunchyroll money because I appreciate what they've done for the series. I give them that 65, $70, whatever it is per year, and I watch Case Closed through them because I want to support what they're doing. And you know, people have to be mindful of that this time around and not download all the Case Closed episodes and watch it and then go to conventions and hassle
yeah,
people. Why don't we have more stuff? You have to open your wallet and spend the 20
yeah. That's
bucks, you
something
know?
that happened, right?
Yeah.
Like they even released a statement back, right? Funimation at at the conventions, like don't ask a lot of Detective Conan questions. We're not going to do anything more. I I feel like I heard that somewhere. Was that true?
It was one of the questions that
Like,
they did
yeah,
not want people to ask. It was like under questions of do not ask us at conventions, sort of thing, about
yeah,
doing more Case Closed, Detective Conan.
yeah,
But the problem with that whole thing is, If you don't want people to ask about it, then don't put the series out digitally and stop renewing the contracts. If you don't want people to ask you those
Yeah.
questions, then end your agreement with with TMS and the companies that you're associated with, and drop the license if you don't
Yeah.
want people to ask about it. I mean, that was on there in
It,
2010, and then they put it
yeah.
out digitally
Everyone
and
was
did the whole
confused about that,
campaign.
right?
Yeah.
Everyone was confused. I mean, like they were having the license, but they just kept renewing the same episodes, but they didn't actually do anything more than that, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, everyone's hopes were up. Everyone's hopes was up that they might get another season or at least another movie. The best case back then was that we would actually get another movie, right? Like the seventh movie. That's what everyone was hoping, at least.
Well, there was that, and I always thought, why not go back on some of those movies if the movies did well? Now, I don't know what break even and do well mean, what the difference is to some of those companies and what their decision is from that point. But,
Yeah,
how episode one's getting a Blu-ray, I think it would have been cool to go back and, excuse me, and put, movies 1 through 6 even onto Blu-ray
yeah.
and
So
do
like
that.
the rights for yeah, so the rights for the first six movies are now with TMS, right? So it would be easy for them to do it, right?
Well,
The first six movies.
yeah. Now, there could be a difference in license between DVD and Blu-ray. I mean, the music and effects and releases, a digital release and a physical release, believe it or not, Joe, have different licenses behind them. And I think that when Funimation did the digital, or released the series digitally in 2013, that was probably a very cheap license to come by, and once again another opportunity to try to make some money back on the initial investment when they bought the series in 2003. And it's just crazy. A show like this has never had a history. People say Lupin, has had something similar, but not really. We haven't had a show that the same company held the license for 15 years, from 2003 to 2018. They did the same 130 episodes and wrapped up recording around 2006, 2007. Then they did the first two movies that came out in 2006 and 2007, and then we never even saw another movie again until 2010. So, and now 10 years later, we get a new dub, via
Yeah.
BangZoom and TMS, partnering together and Discotech.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's too late for Detective Conan right now for localization? Or do you think that, there's still more that can be done with Detective Conan?
So
I mean, we've been sitting on the same, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, that's a good question. But here's what I was thinking about. When the 22nd movie premiered, and obviously you remember that, last year.
Yeah.
And I assume you've seen the film.
Yeah.
And that wasn't released in America initially. That was on an Asia, I don't even know the name of the streaming service, an Asia streaming service, and was out in theaters, I guess, over there at one point in a couple of countries. It had premiered in English,
Yeah.
and had been subtitled as well in a couple of places. If they approach
Yeah.
it
I feel
from
like
go
dub,
ahead, Joe.
I actually think the dub premiered in Singapore. I wasn't able to confirm this, but I did hear rumors that it actually did premiere in Singapore.
I believe it did, and this
Yeah.
is how I think it could be different, Joe. Is if they approach it from an international standpoint, where the dub that you see here is the dub you're going to see around the world, very much what they did when they were doing, when BangZoom was doing Dragon Ball Super. Well, they did, I don't know, the first 50, 60 episodes of that. Now, the dub got canceled, obviously, but that was
Yeah.
more of an international kind of release. If they did that for Case Closed, with the backing that Case Closed has worldwide, I do see that being a possibility, because there are certain countries, if you look at what's happened in Germany, Germany's dub has stopped at episode 399. If you have this dub in multiple countries and people have access to it, it can absolutely be a success this time around because the marketing is different. Who's recording it's different. BangZoom has a large pool of actors that they can use, and they have really good actors behind this. If you look at, Griffin Burns as Shinichi Kudo and Wendy Lee as Conan, these are, those two alone, Xander Mobus as Mori Kogoro, these are seasoned actors. These are not scrubs. These are really seasoned actors that, could play the characters for 10, 15, 20 years if they really wanted to. But I will tell you this, and this is an unpopular opinion. I think the days of a physical release for Conan are over.
Yeah, Professor C. I actually came. Yikes. Okay, so I just hit the recording right now.
Oh no, that's fine. I've got mine on.
Okay. That's good. Okay.
But it for some reason, it did cut out there for a minute though. So I got the first 16 minutes, I guess. I can forward that.
Yeah, sure. My God. Okay.
But no, hey Joe, it's all good. Hey, I had a full interview on here one time, and I had to go redo the interview because I didn't hit record. So don't even worry. But if they approach it from an international standpoint and are going to put it out in multiple countries in English, it can be successful. But the days of a physical release for this series, as far as episodes and all that, I really don't know how that's going to work. Unless they're doing like an Essentials collection where they call it Case Closed Essentials or Detective Conan Essentials and do a big collection. That way, if they're trying to dub multiple hundreds of episodes, I think the days of a physical release are over, especially since Discotech announced they're not doing DVDs anymore. They're doing Blu-rays, so that condenses what you can put in a box set.
That's true. I don't feel like we're going to get any more episodes after this because the movies are going to be doing really well. That's for sure. We might not get like a wide release in theaters, but maybe in cons or maybe a digital or even Blu-ray of the movies will definitely get released. So I don't see, the episodes ever coming out. I mean, we have more than almost 800, 900 episodes right now. So
almost 1,000.
Yeah.
We're at 974 right now.
Oh my God. But at this point, even if you did, take a handful or cherry-picked episodes and just dub those, it would at least come around 400 or 300, minimum 250 episodes, right? Just the essentials.
It's possible, and think about it. They already have the show on Netflix to some degree. It's only 50 some odd episodes, but Crunchyroll has a good 100 and 160, 170 episodes right now.
Yeah.
Who's to say they don't do an English dub and say, hey, Crunchyroll, we're going to let you air it? Because, I mean, realistically, they're using the name Case Closed on Crunchyroll already. Yeah. And this episode 1 is a Case Closed release. So I think they could be doing episodes now, possibly. They could be recording now, even. Who knows?
Yeah.
But if we see it, I almost can guarantee you it would be a digital sort of release.
Yeah.
Because that's the easiest way to release anything in bulk, especially with a show 974 episodes and definitely going to pass 1,000 here in the next 6 months.
That's true. But right now, I feel like America is not their top priority, right? Because even though the movie got released everywhere else in the world, we didn't actually see a digital release or even a physical release for the movies, right? I mean, in June alone, we're just going to get like the first Detective Conan digital and physical release in like 10 years.
Yeah, it'll be 10 years, a little over 10 years, 10 years and about 3 to 4 months. And, obviously for us, it's a long time coming. I think a lot of people are going to pick up this film, but it's a lot of, but there's a lot of people that, if you want to thank specific people for the release, hell, I'll tell you the people that deserve thanks. Let's see, I've got a list here. Detective Conan Translation Project. The people that dubbed the episode 1 special before anybody, Infinity Productions,
For sure.
Know those guys very well. We're partnered with them for a long time before, and they do great work.
Shout out to Infinity Productions.
they've done a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
they've done a lot of episodes. We're still recording our fan dub. We've already
Yeah.
finished. We finished the first episode of the Clash of Red and Black arc, and we're about halfway done mixing together the second episode. And we're gonna do the whole arc. We're gonna do 491 to 504, and I think that's where
Wow.
our fan dub will end.
Black
But
files, right? Or silver.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Silver Bullet files,
Yeah.
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 And that's where we'll kind of end up. And we've done a good 5-6 episodes ourselves, and feel
Yeah.
pretty good about it. But it's people like Infinity who
Yeah.
in the Detective Conan translation project. I know TMS isn't a huge fan of the translation project, but
Yeah.
those are the kinds of people, like in between them and us and Infinity, those are the people that have really made people imagine, wow, what if this show actually continued and had a dub? What could it look like? These characters
Yeah.
speaking in English that, I mean, they stopped speaking in English, so long ago for so many people. And so I think that's allowed people to say, wow, well, it could happen. So we're going to buy this next release that's physical so that it can happen.
I mean, like, if TMS wanted, they could have done this before, right? I mean, they were so strict. Like, even the DCTP website, they had to take it down almost, right? They had to remove everything, and it was almost bare bones because of TMS, right? Back, I think, in 2013.
Yeah, and I mean it is, and those guys, yeah, they weren't necessarily, it wasn't totally legal, and they made a whole website on the side that was called Conan TV, and that was a big no-no. But man, I'll tell you what, I caught up on a lot of episodes on Conan TV because it was all just curated so well and put together. So, while they didn't do something quote unquote legal, they provided fan subs and did not profit anything from it. I call that free advertising. So whatever TMS has to say about that, I'm just going to say, if it wasn't for the translation project, I can almost guarantee you this wouldn't be happening. But, a company like, not a company, but a group like Infinity doing episode 1, I think has to give them pause too, because they went into the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, well, maybe we should do that too. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I would be happy if they just took that and put it on the Blu-ray as an extra audio file, right? As an extra dub. I would be so happy if they did that. Like, they're going to release it in July, so I mean, we should hit up TMS and tell them to add it, or Discotech. We should hit up Discotech and tell them to do it.
I don't know what they would do with that.
Yeah, that's true. TMS is so strict. I mean, if they weren't this much strict with copyright, we would have had a lot more Detective Conan channels, right? There would have been a lot of more people who talked about Detective Conan online. I mean, I'm not sure if you remember this guy, but there was a guy called Zero from the UK, I think, and he used to do reviews of the manga of Detective Conan. And his channel just was taken, all of his videos were taken down.
Oh, I do remember him. I actually talked to him on YouTube a few times. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. His videos got lots of strikes, and I'm not sure what he's doing now, but it was really hard to see. I mean, if they're really strict with the fan base, how do they expect a lot of more people to get to know Detective Conan, right?
Well, we touched on this a little bit when I was talking to Joe Murray, who obviously voices Shinichi and Conan and in the Singapore dub. It's a very beloved show, and this is how he explained to me. It's very beloved. It's very near and dear to them. That it's not just another anime. It's a very special property to them that they hold sacred, and they don't want anything in their eyes to damage what that property is. And so, like I was even talking to him, I'm like, y'all had so many TV deals behind y'all's dub in Singapore, and and so many I would call really good backing. I just cannot believe you guys didn't do more. And he goes, well, if it didn't do well on one network, or it didn't do well in one place, maybe they found it too dear to license the next 52 or whatever would have been for us to do. You know,
Yeah,
you just never know. But
that's
the
true.
company does hold their properties pretty sacred, and I will say they do the same thing with Lupin. You know, people for years tried to put Lupin out there in a lot of the same ways, and you know it was taken down for a lot of that as well. But Lupin's had a wonderful comeback and has been on
Yeah,
Toonami, and Discotek is very much championing it. But and another thing I'll say, this may not never have happened without the TV special and the movies coming out subtitled and doing as well as they did on DVD. The Detective Conan versus Lupin specials, had those not done well, I don't know if we'd even be talking about Discotek releasing it. It
yeah,
might have had to be another distribution company.
that's true. I mean, they've done such a good job with Detective Conan right now. I mean, they're gonna release the DVD, but someone to step up. I mean, they chose like it's like I believe it's an LA-based company.
Yeah,
Discotek.
BangZoom
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
LA
yeah,
based. I think Discotek is as well. I
yeah,
think.
yeah. They're doing like such a good job. I mean, uh, even though they've done two movies right now, it's not. It's really good, right? I mean, you've listened to it, right? The dub of Bang
Yeah,
Zoom's. Yeah, yeah,
I watched all of movie 22. You know, and I really like a lot of their casting choices.
yeah.
You know, I thought Kuroda, you know,
Oh,
being voiced, you know, was really good. So,
yeah,
um, and a lot of the secondary characters too. McGuire threw me off a little bit, or Megure kind of threw
yeah,
me off a little bit. That was really different. But at the same
yeah,
time, I can kind of see it. It kind of works. I'll tell you the new voice actor for McGuire or Megure sounds a
yeah,
lot like the Singapore dub actor for
yeah.
him,
That's true.
who's voiced by Brian Zimmerman. I think they sound very similar, so that's interesting.
Yeah. I actually did go back and watch like one of the few episodes that you uploaded. I mean, like, how do you get the episodes, first of all, from Joe, right? From Joe Murray.
Well, it's just kind of weird. So it never in Singapore they have a media called VCD, which I guess is a cheaper version of DVD, and
Yeah.
it never released on VCD over there. Detective Conan, the Singapore dub, it never released on VCD. What he was doing was he would take the pre-production copies home and quote unquote review them,
Wow.
and in the process of reviewing some of the episodes, he would take them and put them on like DVD or VCD, and then like make a
Really?
copy of it essentially, and then would take it back to the studio. And
Oh,
so that resulted in about 15 of 52 episodes that were thought to be lost to the world. So, and I
yikes.
really, you know, I really like his version of Shinichi, and I really like his
Yeah.
version of Conan, and he also plays the dad too in the Conan is kidnapped episode.
Oh,
And just does I mean, he just shows up and nails it. And if you listen to his Shinichi in episode one and later in the series in the diplomat case later on in 49 and 50, I mean, it's
yeah.
you know, he just shows up and nails it, and you can tell by the
Yeah.
second time around he's really comfortable. So I would have loved to have seen him actually voice Shinichi more, and to see
Yeah.
what that would look like. Because he's just a very versatile actor, and at the same time, those guys, the dub they did is really impressive because they really didn't have that many voices working on it.
Yeah.
It was them and like you know 7, 8, maybe 9 other people, you
That's
know,
true.
all in one thing doing all these different voices. So that dub is really impressive, and they really
Yeah.
didn't know a lot about these characters. They never heard the Japanese
Yeah.
audio. They didn't really know a lot about their characters, and they showed up, and I think they nailed it. I really do. I
Yeah.
think they did a great job for what they had. I would have loved to have seen what it would have sounded like had they had a more diverse cast. But when you look at what
Yeah.
they did between them, I mean, 52 episodes with that many actors, that's impressive. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say that's impressive work. It really
Yeah. I
is.
mean, it still stands, right? I mean, even after 20 years, almost 20 years, it still stands. It's really amazing what they did.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and they could be part of the success of it in Singapore. People could be, oh, I watched that dub as a kid or whatever, and no, now I
yeah,
can enjoy it, and and so they, in a lot of ways, for Singapore, they could be very responsible for the success over there because of people that were exposed to it or grew up with it on TV, and
yeah.
I think through the research and the work, there was always rumors of that third English dub um, that was premiered over there.
Yeah.
That did not happen. I'm just going to go on the
Oh,
record and say that did not happen. There was never a third English dub. All the research that I've done tells me that the Singapore dub was in syndication on television from
oh,
2003 on multiple channels from 2003 at least until 2007, and it was just the same 52 episodes on repeat. So this whole, there's a third English dub, and somebody found an IMDb page with it. Just doesn't exist. It is the Singapore dub, and it was in syndication.
wow. So like, how did you get in touch with Joe Murray in the first place?
Well, I went to his well, not his Wikipedia. I was doing some research on Funimation's dub of Case Closed, and I just wanted to get certain dates and see if I could find like acquisition dates and the exact day they basically lost the license to kind of put a beginning and an end on it.
Oh,
And I'm going through and I'm like, I'm seeing a 2003 Singapore dub, and I'm thinking, well, there's no way that's in English, but let me click and see what's going on with this. And they have the opening and ending uh, basically out there on YouTube.
yeah.
And I'm like, there's a narrator at the beginning of this doing this in English. What is this? And I remembered years ago I had seen a YouTube video of somebody who posted, and they called it a alternative Funimation dub. And it came back to me. I'm like, I remember watching that, and it had like a different person doing Shinichi and all these characters. I'm like, who are these people? This does not sound like what I've listened to.
Oh,
And that was years prior to finding this out. And then so I was looking, and then I went to the Wikipedia page, and they had a whole Wikipedia page for the Singapore dub and how it was lost, and there was nothing
oh,
out there about it except the opening and closing. But then they had links to certain voice actors, and it was Joe Murray and one other person, and I thought, well, I mean, Joe Murray voices the main character. Probably going to go talk to him first and just see. And I shot him an email. Did not expect him to reply. He
wow.
replied, and we ended up, having a nice long podcast talking about
Yeah.
it. And then I was like, yeah, if you happen to have anything, send it my way. I didn't want to like bang down his door or anything, but I wanted to be like, hey, if you got anything, why don't you just shoot it my way? I'll go ahead and take a look at that. So every time he would
Wow.
send me something, I already have high quality raw files backed up on my computer for that. For for the early episodes too, all the way up to 600, I've got pretty good raw files, and we use them for our fan dub too. So we kind of need to
Yeah.
have those. And I every time he would send me an episode, I would just use the raw file and do that. Now we had a huge problem in episode 2 on it because he had sent me a disc that had the first 3 episodes. Well, and this was, oh my gosh, I talk about losing sleep and having sleepless nights. I really did, because
Oh,
this disc had something called disc rot on it,
oh,
and it corrupted. Well, at first I couldn't even get past this point on the disc rot to even get the rest of the episodes that were on
right.
there. It was like the rest of episode 2 and the rest and all of episode 3, and they were
Oh,
fine. But this disc rot would prevent me from getting where I needed to go. And along with it had really light minor scratches, but compounded with that, it made it really difficult. So I was using a bunch of editing software. I found one where I could actually pull the footage from the other episode, like episode 1 and episode 2,
oh,
and those were fine. So I pulled those off. And all you're looking for is the audio, because these pre-production
yeah.
copies he sent me has the time codes running on top and everything else, and it's in mono stereo basically, so you got to take it and even it
Yeah.
out. And episode 2, man, I just could not get the first 30 seconds of this thing to play. Where Conan wakes up and the police officers are talking to him or whatever. I just couldn't get it to play that one part, but I could play the rest of the episode when they cut back to the detective's office. And so I took the disc and took it to a game shop, and I said, hey, is there any way you guys can do a really deep clean on this? And they said, well, we can. You do realize there's a small chance it could destroy some of the data. I said, yeah, let me go email this. Let me go email Joe about this and see what's up. And he goes, you do whatever you have to do. I know it's in good hands. I'm like, all right, that makes me feel better. Let me get it. So I told the guy, I was like, please don't erase my stuff. And so the whole time this disc is in the machine, I'm walking around this game shop and I can hear zzz. I'm like, oh my God. It was like torture. Because I had to get every other little scratch off so it like I wasn't compounding the problem. And sure enough, the only thing I could not get was that 30 seconds. So I took the Funimation audio from Funimation and put that in that 30-second gap, and we were able to get the rest of the episode from that and use the Singapore audio. So we got 1, 2, 3.
I mean, I watched the second episode and I didn't notice anything, so that's all good.
Yeah, we got very lucky, and luckily Conan is thinking kind of in that Shinichi or Jimmy voice in the second episode, and there are a lot of times where I listen to Joe's portrayal, and it does actually sound very similar to Jerry Jewell at times. So I'm like, well, this works pretty well. And the conversation even came up with him. I'm like, I wonder if Jerry had seen your work and took influence from it, because there's just a certain cadence about how you say things or how the character comes across that kind of sounds similar to Jerry, but Joe did it before anybody in English. He, a year before anybody else did. So, he's the first English voice of all those characters. So, and it crazy in any other dub, never heard of anybody in a Conan dub doing Conan, Shinichi, and the dad all in one dub. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because it's the same central figure. It's the same person, basically.
Same family, right? I mean, Shinichi and Conan are the same person, and even the dad's part of the family, so it would make sense that the same actor would portray all three of them. Even the Japanese even doesn't do this, right? I mean, the wife does Conan's voice and another person does Shinichi, but this is actually a really different approach, right? I mean, even I didn't notice that the dad's voice was same as Shinichi and Conan. After you said, only I realized what was going on. So he's a really talented guy.
Well, he did a lot of side characters too. I mean, every episode, basically, and I know how his voice really sounds now because I've heard him in so many different ways now, where I'm like, wow, so he's doing that character too. There was a couple of them where I was like, is this you or Chuck Powers doing it? Because it sounds like it could be either one of y'all stretching your voice a different way. And he's like, no, that one was Chuck and this one was me. I'm like, okay. So, it's really like, and Brian Zimmerman too. I mean, all three of them really, as far as voicing the male characters, it was mostly them. For the most part. So, I mean, they nailed it. I mean, they did a really good job with what they had. I just wish they had more actors to kind of help them out, especially if they were to acquire more. I think it would have been like, hey, let's get at least 3 or 4 more people to help on these next 52.
They would have definitely got more actors if they did actually renew the license a lot more for more episodes. It's really sad to see it, end in like 53 episodes, right?
Yeah, 52. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have a beginning and an end, and we just put out the torrent for it the other day, and the hope is that somewhere out there somebody may have like VHS recordings or audio clip recordings of it, and maybe over the years, little bits and pieces, more of it will surface online, and maybe we get a few more episodes out of it at some point. Who knows?
That's true. Yeah, for having like a drought of Detective Conan dub content for almost 10 years, we're getting like a flood of Detective Conan dubs right now.
Yeah,
with
I
with
mean, and
and
it's
the dub.
well, yeah, fan projects, the dub,
Yeah,
Crunchyroll being involved in the
yeah,
work they do. I mean, it's an exciting time to be a fan, but everybody's got
yeah.
to get behind this one release and
That's
really, my message is, hey, time to stop being cheap. $20, everybody. 20
yeah.
bucks for a Blu-ray that could give us a lot more content. So open the
Yeah.
wallets.
If this one does really well, there's nothing stopping Detective Conan now.
No, I mean, what if this does well? Why wouldn't we just do a film every year at least? We could
Yeah,
have a film every year. We could continue to get the sub. If it does really, really well, it might become even more popular on Crunchyroll. Maybe they could get more subbed episodes even to put onto Crunchyroll that like
yeah,
from some of the early episodes and fill in the gap between 2, 3, 4, and 500. That would
yeah,
even be a victory, in getting those on there.
yeah. The fans have been keeping this alive for a really long time. That's definitely true.
Yeah, it has a hardcore fan base.
Yeah.
It just
I-
does.
like so many people, so many portrayals of the same character. I don't think we have this in a lot of anime, right? Like three official, two non-official actors portraying the same character.
Yeah, and just a shout out. I absolutely the guy who does Jimmy Kudo for us or Shinichi Kudo, Chris.
Yeah,
Uh, he just nails it, man. I mean,
that's true.
he is phenomenal. I love his version of the character. Every time I hear him, I'm like, that's what he's supposed to sound like. Um,
He's been there for a long time, right?
oh
Ever since
yeah.
auditions. Yeah, I still remember those. What happened to those audition videos actually?
I think they're still up unless they were taken
Oh,
down.
yeah, I was going back through your channel, but I didn't actually see them. Maybe I skipped them or something. But
I don't know. Maybe
I
they were
used to be
taken
like,
down.
yeah, I guess so. But those were so cool. I mean, after listening to the dub and not having any Detective Conan content, listening to those audition tapes was actually something that really exciting. Is I'm still really looking forward to those episodes.
Well, and that's the thing. Once 492 finishes up, and I've got the same editing wise, I have a guy named Bradley doing it, and he's been with us since the beginning as well. He's been in probably every episode, playing a side character here and there. But he has got such a versatile voice. He's going to be doing James Black in the Clash of Red and Black arc. He's phenomenal. He's got a great voice, and he's doing all the editing now. So
Really,
me and him are really on the same page with everything. We've done a few other episodes that I'm still trying to find editing help for. We did a one-off episode with another cast, episode
oh,
911. I'm still trying to find an editor that wants to take that on. I don't want to load up Bradley or anything.
sure.
Um, but he's doing Clash of Red and Black right now, and we're done with 492, and I believe we're done with 493. We're just getting 492 mixed together, and I have Conan audio. Shoot, I have Conan audio. I think all the way up to 496, 497. So, um, and then I've got Gen audio. I think up until 502. So I mean, I have a bunch of audio and stuff in the works really for it. We're trying to keep all of it organized in folders and
Yeah,
everything to just make it easier to pass on to Bradley later. But man, from an editing standpoint,
wow.
this guy just absolutely nails it.
Yeah, it must be like a nightmare editing all those voices and the sound effects, background audio, mixing it all together. Yikes.
Well, it
He's a
is,
phenomenal
but
job.
he's
Yeah,
adding
he's
he's
really
adding
talented.
sound effects. He's adding sound effects. He's doing, if somebody's on the phone, you can tell they're on the phone.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know, stuff I took for granted before that. I mean, he's doing just a fantastic job,
yeah,
taking the project and running with it from that point, and communication with him has been awesome. I've had problems with editors in the past from like, hey, are you on this part? It's like, oh, I totally forgot about even doing it. I'm like, what? Why? You know. So yeah, I've totally loved working with him. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
pro. He's a pro, no doubt about it.
that's true. You guys in Infinity Productions have been doing an awesome job at this dub. I mean, without your dubs, I don't think the fan base would have been as interactive or as alive as it is right now without these dubs. Like people would watch subs, but they wouldn't be that much interested. They would just go back to the old episodes and then get tired of it and then forget about Detective Conan. But because of these dubs, they've been really interested in what's been going on.
Well, yeah, and for all of us, I think, with doing the dubs, anytime it goes up on Kiss Anime, we all get criticized heavily because, oh my God, well, this person sucks or this person sounds like, it's like, okay, well, when's the last time you tried to do a full episode of something, and put it out there? I
Yeah,
mean, this, you know, you look at other animes, dude, there's not a lot, there's nobody out there doing full episodes of,
yeah,
My Hero Academia or what's a show really popular that maybe doesn't have a dub. Like
yeah.
what is it?
Doraemon.
Or One Punch Man or something, that hasn't gotten a
Yeah,
dub yet. You don't see people running out and doing fan dubs of that. But people
yeah,
in the case closed community and the Detective Conan community, we're crazy. I mean,
yeah,
we go to some crazy lengths to try to put content out there, and I think people need
yeah,
something to kind of grasp onto because the manga is like, coming and going, and Gosho's had a
yeah.
lot of health problems, the last few years. So,
That's
where it
true.
kind of falls down, all of us, people like you that put content on your YouTube channel and do the comparisons and talk
Yeah,
about the new release content and, get everybody hyped up about stuff. I mean, those are the
yeah,
people that keep it going, really.
yeah. I've had people ask me about the dubs for uh, almost all the time. People like always ask me, When is the dub coming out? What dub is it?" Like people are interested in this.
Yeah. It's well, and that's the thing. People want to know. People have also got to realize, hey, when it comes out, you better open your wallet.
Yeah,
It's time to pay up because it's not just
yeah,
about it coming out and you going to your computer and downloading it. It's, hey, go
yeah,
order it, pre-order it. I am telling everybody who on Twitter who's like, I'm excited this is coming out. I'm like, pre-order, pre-order, and I'm gonna start just including the link to Write Stuff and being like, hey, go ahead and pre-order. It's cheaper now if people pre-order it now before it
yeah.
comes out. So might as well.
Yeah, but the marketing has been so bad, right? I mean, I haven't seen anything about Detective Conan other than their Facebook and Twitter. Other than that, they haven't done anything else, right?
Well, they
No
never have
trailers. No,
marketed the series well. Well, the trailer
uh,
came out. I saw the trailer the other day, and Discotheque had to take it down, but it's already all over Twitter, so that didn't really do any good. Uh, and
for
I
the episode or for the movie?
for the episode 1,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
and
Yikes.
and I think it's just because they released it too soon. They're probably not supposed to, but they even said in the description of the video, they said more Conan content is coming. So we already
Wow.
know there's another release at least planned, and I don't want to even begin to speculate what it could be. I have no idea. I
Yeah,
would guess Crimson Love Letter would be next, and
that's
then
true.
maybe Zero the Enforcer. But
Yeah.
if the
Zero the
Darkest
Enforcer is
Nightmare,
already dubbed. Wait,
well,
Zero the
Zero the
Enforcer.
Enforcer, it's movie 22. Crimson Love Letters
Uh,
movie 21,
oh yeah, yeah. You're right.
and Darkest Nightmare is movie 20. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
I
know,
hope it's 22.
well, part of me hopes that it's the Darkest Nightmare because it's been a rumor that's been on Reddit lately. So if it is, then at least it would put it to bed.
Yeah,
But who knows? I think that would be a great one. It would really give us a chance to see Jin and Vodka, see what those voices are like a little bit more than we're going to
yeah,
see in episode 1. But, I mean, Jin, especially Jin in episode 1, has a lot of good moments. So,
yeah.
anytime you can see the Black Horde characters, that's definitely worthwhile.
Sure. Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Detective Conan is having such a good run right now.
It really is, and I mean, it can continue to have a great run if people support it the way that they need to, and you
Yeah,
know, for years, you know, we've tried to educate people how that is, and I know you're telling people the same thing as far as you know buying the content and supporting it.
that's true. I wish there were like a lot more channels that actually did talk about Detective Conan, like get the news out there.
So there could be, you know, episode one could bring in a really diverse fan base. But when you don't have any dub
Yeah,
content released for 10 years, I mean, there's not a lot of people in the US that are going to gravitate to you, and you can't even find a lot of that old stuff anyway on physical
yeah,
media unless you go to eBay and, you know, try to look for it.
yeah,
But there could be. It could spark a lot of interest, especially if they do announce, you know, if I had to bet money, I would just assume they're going to announce at least two more films this year, whether it be Crimson Love Letter and Zero the Enforcer to release, since they've already
yeah,
shown those.
yeah. I think
You
Zero
know,
the Enforcer is floating around the internet, right?
it is, but
Yeah,
it's I
yeah,
mean, not a lot of people have actually downloaded it.
yeah,
I know that, but and not a lot of people have seen it like you and I have seen it. But
yeah,
I mean, just because I've seen it, hey, that doesn't mean I'm not going to run out there and buy a copy or two when it comes out. I'm definitely going to be picking it up because,
yeah,
um, you know, the new cast I think does a really nice job. You know, like
yeah,
it was Richard Epcar, you know, doing Kuroda and Wendy Lee doing
yeah,
Conan and Griffin Burns doing Shinichi. I really want to know who plays Inspector McGuire or Megure. I really want to know,
yeah,
and I want to see more of Xander Mobus because I thought that was an interesting choice for the character. I thought that was kind of odd, but I think it
yeah,
works. I just, you know, these people don't know their characters very well and haven't really portrayed them too much. So,
yeah,
um, you know, I think Wendy Lee's approach to Conan is more serious and more kind of straightforward,
yeah,
but she's very seasoned in what she does. She's been a voice actress for, I don't know, what, 20, 25 years? Long
yeah,
time, you know, maybe longer. Well, actually, no, no, no,
yeah.
it has been longer. She was the first
Oh,
voice of Bulma back in Dragon Ball. So back in like the, what is it, the Harmony Gold dub of Dragon Ball, she voiced Bulma back in 1989. So she's been at it 30 plus years. You
yeah,
know, so these are people that know what they're doing. And when you
yeah,
have people that are good, you have a good cast behind it. This could be a great international dub as well.
yeah,
Um, it works. And Christina V is Ron or Rachel. She's
yeah.
phenomenal. She's great. You know.
With more time with these characters, they're definitely gonna get more into it, right? Like as you said, Conan does seem a bit more serious than the other portrayals, but the more they get into the character with more dubs, I do see it becoming better.
Well, if they do episodes too, I think that helps because you're
Yeah,
voicing that character on a very consistent basis, and you're finding new things with the character that maybe I want to approach him or her this way, him or her that way, you know? Um, uh,
yeah. I wonder
um,
if they actually watch the dub or the sub before voicing the characters. That's something that I really want to know.
I don't know about the dub. I'll bet you they've heard Japanese audio of it. This
Yeah, that's
time
true.
around
That's true.
they probably have. And there's some
Yeah,
characters that kind of are more practical. If you hear what Xander Mobus's portrayal of Mori is, it's a little bit practical to what he sounds like in Japanese. And I've watched the
yeah,
show all the way up to where it currently is in Japanese. I'm on like 969 of 974. And yeah, Xander Mobus is approaching the character very practical, but not to what Maury sounds like now. Kind of what Maury sounded like with the other voice actor. I cannot
yeah,
remember his name for the life of me, but he voiced Maury from 1 to 500, and it sounds more like that a little bit, and like how that kind of portrayal was.
yeah,
Um, you know, in Conan, I mean, I'm okay with a more serious one. I liked, well, I don't not say liked. I loved what Alison Victorin did as Conan. She was just, oh
yeah.
my God, she was fantastic. I mean, her voice was just made for that character.
That's
Um,
true.
and she sounds just like Conan. If you go to her YouTube channel and watch like her family videos or whatever, even she sounds just like Conan. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah,
Um, but I like Wendy Lee a lot, and I think Wendy Lee is going to approach it from a really good standpoint of,
Yeah,
this is how the character should sound. This is how I want the character to sound. This is what I'm going to do. And Griffin Burns, even seeing the trailer for episode 1, I liked his episode 1 trailer a lot. I mean, I only heard him a little bit in movie 22, but I love what he did in the episode 1 trailer way more than I even loved what he
really.
did in movie 22. So there, the more these people are able to be in front of the microphone and see their characters and kind of play
Yeah,
with it a little more, they're going to find that sweet spot. And I think he's
yeah,
going to do very, very well. I like Griffin
sure.
Burns.
Yeah, they've done a really good job up till now. I mean, from the one movie that we heard, he's done a really good
Right.
job. Yeah, there's gonna be
Well,
more for sure. So
well,
they've got
Kyle
time.
McCarley doing Amuro, that was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Oh my
Great
God,
casting choice. That's
that's
who
true.
that should sound like. That was, Richard Epcar doing Kuroda. There's just certain things that work. Now, I
Yeah,
want to hear Magore a little more because I'm not 100% certain on that one yet. Other
yeah,
than I do like that he sounds like Brian Zimmerman a little bit, and kind of fits that portrayal. I like Brian Zimmerman's Magore, but that's because he sold me on the acting part of it too. I want that part to be kind of sold to me a little bit more too. I thought
uh,
Brian Zimmerman, out of any Magore I've ever heard, was probably the best one in the Singapore dub. Um, Hands down, I thought he did the best
yeah,
portrayal, of any of them, even in
yeah.
Japanese.
Yeah,
So
I felt like the Harley Hot role of the Singapore dub was a bit off. I'm not sure why,
yeah,
but yeah. But the new Harley Hartwell, did you hear the new one? You didn't watch the movie, right? The 21st one, the dub.
no, I
No.
haven't. I haven't heard who the new one is.
Yeah. But Infinity Productions has been doing really well with Harley.
Yeah,
Yeah. Their take on it, because I'm not sure what they're gonna do with the 21st movie, because he's supposed to have an accent, right? Like the dub that Infinity Productions done has given him like a country accent, Akawa, this and yeah, country, I guess so. I'm not sure of my dialects, but he should have a dialect, so that would be interesting to see what they're gonna do.
I've heard of people sometimes doing like a Canadian sort of take on the character, when they portray the character in English. That's a common theme. I'll say for like our Rachel in our dub, she has an accent, but that's
Oh,
because that's how she naturally talks. And
oh,
so, but I don't, she does such a great job with the character. I mean, she can have an accent all she wants. She's fantastic at what she does. It doesn't bother me at all. I think it adds to the character. And it's kind of the same thing. Our Conan, who's voicing Conan, she's been a voice actress for a long time. She's worked on other productions. She was in she made a cameo in an episode of Hey Arnold and does a whole bunch of
oh,
other voices. So she's pretty well seasoned in what she does too. And we've got, I don't know, we just have such a good cast behind us too. We're excited for everybody to just see,
yeah.
who we have. And obviously the Conan voice for Infinity used to be our Conan, way back in the
Oh,
day. So yeah, I mean, we've had a good run of Conans on our side, so we're just, I don't know, it's an exciting time for people in the fandom, and
yeah,
obviously I've got to get back to recording podcasts at some point and get
that's
back into
true.
the game a little bit more. I haven't really done a
Yeah, I
whole
mean,
lot.
from here on out, there's gonna be a whole lot more podcasts because there's gonna be lots of content, right?
Yeah, and when this whole Corona thing's over, I guess I'll be going back to some conventions and
Oh
doing the
yeah.
convention scene again because I haven't done a convention since, oh gosh, what is it? May. I haven't done a convention since October of 2018. So I
Nice.
need to look into
That's a
that.
while back. Yeah, I
Yeah, it
mean,
was a while
at
back.
at one point, you were planning to have like a booth, right? For Save Case Closed. I'm not sure. I feel like I remember you saying something like that.
Well, we went to Techo in 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2014. We went to Techo. No, 2015. Sorry. And we went because Jerry Jewell was appearing at Techo. And originally, we were going to actually have a panel together. He and I were going to sit on the same panel and talk about the series. Well, something happened with the convention, and they ended up booking us in different rooms at different stuff. So we didn't actually end up getting to do our appearance together. But I did get to meet with him at one of his panels, and he had signed a whole bunch of product basically that we were going to go give away and do. So he had signed everything that I could have possibly wanted him to sign, answered every question I had. I tried not to bombard him, but super nice guy. I mean, Jerry's just a really, he's just down to earth guy. I really like him. I would have loved to have done a panel with him, but oh yeah, he's phenomenal. He just shows up and nails it every time. So Jerry Jewell's an awesome guy. I sat and took a picture with him and everything. He's just a really cool dude. So, but yeah, at our panel at Techo, man, it was huge. We had, 40 something people show up. It was crazy. I was like, I'll be lucky if I get 15, 20, 40 some odd people later. I'm like, whoa, okay, well, now I'm nervous. And so, I was like, this is different. So, then we did a couple after that. They weren't as impressive as far as audience wise, but we got to, show off our fan dub a little bit. And at the time, we had just recorded our first 2 episodes, so we showed one of them at one of the conventions. It was obviously a closed door kind of secretive thing, obviously, but we had some fun with that.
Wow. I mean, Jerry Jewell is one of the few people who actually have spoken openly about Detective Conan. Right? Another person, I believe, was the Richard Moore actor. I believe.
Bruce Elliott.
Yeah. He did speak a bit about the dub going into Funimation, right?
I'm sure he did. I haven't seen him talk about it. I've seen Jerry talk about it. I've talked to Allison over the years. I talked to her a little bit about it. On YouTube we had talked about it. There's not a whole lot of people that openly talk about it, but for Jerry it's a huge deal. Jerry, that's his most well-known role, I would say, of anything he's done.
Sure.
He's been in a bunch of stuff, but he did 130 episodes and 6 movies. So, if you've been in something a lot, well, he's been in that show a lot. That's not, everyone's like, oh, well, Conan's 900 and almost 1,000 episodes. Like, yeah, but do you know how many animes have 100 something plus episodes, in all the movies? Not a whole lot when you break it down, maybe 10 of them. So, he's voiced the character quite a bit. He knows the character inside and out, and I really, really hope that the Griffin Burns and the Wendy Lees of the world just get to that place with the character.
Would have said yes.
Yeah, I would be like, they just know the character, and it's like, well, this is how I'm going to approach it. This is how Conan would say this line and all. And I look forward to that. I think the only way they get to know those characters better, though, is dubbing more content.
Yeah, that's true.